I'm a 26-year-old male, and I need to get this off my chest because it's been living rent-free in my head for too long. That's the only thing that hasn't been paying rent in this story, LOL. This whole trash fire started about 2 years ago when I was 24. I just secured the bag with my first decent job as a junior architect after the college grind. I was finally building a little savings and not feeling broke all the time. Then, my dad called me one night, sounding mad depressed. "Hey, got to talk to you about something," he said, all serious. I legit thought somebody had died or whatever, but nah. Turns out, my little sister, a 21-year-old female, the golden child since forever, wanted to move into this bougie apartment complex by her college. It was way too expensive for someone working part-time at some clothing store, and my genius dad had already promised his precious favorite kid he'd cover it. For context, my sister has been the favorite since day one. Whatever she wants, she gets. Me? I'm just the backup character in the family sitcom. "Listen," Dad said. "I told her I'd handle the rent, but between you and me, business is giving very much recession vibes." His voice was all quiet. "I can't let her down, but I just can't afford it right now. Could you maybe cover it for a while? I'll pay you back when things get better." Here's the toxic part. He didn't want her to know he wasn't paying. He wanted me to give him the money so he could pretend it was from him, like major sus behavior. "She looks up to me," he said. "I don't want her to see me struggling. You know how she gets." Yeah, I did. Princess would throw a whole tantrum if she didn't get her way. Heaven forbid the golden child has to face reality. Like the total clown I was, I felt bad for the old man. His construction business was flopping hard, and yeah, family helps family or whatever trauma-based garbage I'd been fed my whole life. "How much?" I asked. "Just $780 a month," he said, like it was pocket change. "Only until I get back on my feet." That was basically half my rent at the time. I was living in a crappy apartment with a roommate to save money, eating ramen unironically, while Miss Girly Pop gets a solo luxury apartment. The math wasn't mathing, but I agreed. I'd send the money to Dad, he'd forward it to Sis, and she'd think it was all coming from him. Dad saves face, golden child stays golden, and I get to be the family's secret ATM. Bestie behavior, right? Fast forward 6 months. I'm visiting Sis at her apartment that I'm secretly paying for, and guess who's hanging out there, drinking fancy juice that my money basically bought? My ex, the one who cheated on me with my former best friend last year. Get this, she drives a Tesla Model 3 that her parents bought her for graduating college. Rich girl vibes on lock, and my sister is absolutely obsessed. "Oh yeah, we're like besties for real now," my sister said, not even realizing how messed up this was. "She's over here all the time. Her Tesla is so fire, I'm literally obsessed with it. It's giving main character energy." I bit my tongue so hard I thought it would yeet itself out of my mouth. Here I am, eating ramen 3 nights a week so my sister can have a nice place, and she's hosting the girl who broke my heart and constantly simps over her Tesla. But I didn't say anything, just sat there taking L's in silence, because I promised Dad, because family comes first, or whatever trauma response that is. Their BS only got worse from there. Golden Child would call me to flex about the new furniture she copped, the ragers she threw, the weekend trips she was planning, all while I'm pinching pennies because I'm secretly funding her main character lifestyle without her even knowing. Around that time, my sister started dating this wannabe influencer, a dude who preached hustle culture like it was gospel, constantly making cringy motivational videos about grinding and manifesting wealth from her apartment that I was secretly paying for, while he mooched off his parents' money and acted like anyone with a real job was beneath him. "Dad's so generous," she'd say. "He even gave me extra this month for that new TV. He's such a vibe." Yeah, that extra was me skipping lunch for a week and canceling my streaming subscriptions. No more Netflix and actually no chill either. The worst part? My sister treated me like I was some NPC in her story, always making these passive-aggressive comments about my basic apartment, my boring car, how I never do anything fun. The favoritism was so obvious it was cringe. She actually said to me once, "I don't get why you're giving such broke boy energy when you have that architecture job. It's like you don't even know how to live your best life." Meanwhile, Dad's over here like, "Your sister is just more social than you, and she needs these things for her image, and other excuses for why she deserves everything and I deserve to fund it all." I came so close to spilling the tea that night, but then I remembered Dad's face, how defeated he looked when he asked for help, so I swallowed my pride again. Honestly, I was the biggest doormat. For 2 years, this went on. 2 years of me transferring money to Dad, him pretending it was his, and my sister living her best baddie life while treating me like I was some peasant NPC in her story. My sister would constantly go on about how she wanted a Tesla like my ex's. "Dad, when I graduate, can I get a Tesla? Sarah's is so busting. I literally can't even with these basic cars anymore." And my dad would just say, "We'll see, princess." Instead of, "Hell no, we can't afford that because your brother is already bankrolling your entire existence." Meanwhile, I'm driving a 2010 Honda that's giving major struggle bus vibes and makes weird noises when it rains because all my extra cash is going to her apartment. I couldn't even afford to fix my phone screen that had been cracked for months, while she's posting her apartment tour on TikTok with her perfect aesthetic and LED lights everywhere. One time, she invited me over for dinner, and my ex was there too. They spent the whole night circle jerking about my ex's Tesla and how it's giving eco-friendly luxury, while I just sat there knowing I was basically paying for the food they were chomping on. My sister kept saying stuff like, "I can't believe you drive that old Honda when you could have something so much better. It's not giving successful architect energy at all." My ex actually had the nerve to say, "Maybe you need to work harder or get a better job." No shade, but like, priorities. Like the freaking irony of that statement, when her parents bought her that car, and I'm secretly paying for the apartment she's sitting in. It's like they were both just taking shots at me all night while I silently covered the bills. Miss Girl and her bestie roasting me in an apartment I paid for, eating food I indirectly bought. The golden child treatment was so obvious. My parents always told me to work harder, save more, be responsible, while my sister got everything handed to her with zero expectations. But I kept my mouth shut because Dad made me promise, and I was too chicken to break the family illusion. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Dad would get back on his feet, start paying himself, and I could finally save for my own place or maybe even a car that doesn't sound like it's about to unalive itself. But no. Every time I'd ask Dad when he might be able to take over the payments, he'd have some new excuse. Business was slow. He had unexpected expenses. He was waiting on a big client to pay. Always something for him, but never a problem finding money when Golden Child needed something. Growing up, it was always the same. Sis needed dance lessons? They found the money. I wanted to play sports? Too expensive. Sis needed a new laptop for school? Of course. I needed art supplies for my architecture portfolio? Can't you just use what you have? The favoritism was so blatant it should have had its own zip code. Then came the night when everything went nuclear. It was at my mom's birthday dinner. Picture this. Dad looking stressed as usual, me exhausted from working overtime to fund both my life and my sister's secret lifestyle. And my sister, fresh from getting her nails done that I guarantee somehow came out of my pocket. We're all at my parents' place, around this old dining table we've had since forever. Mom's barely saying a word, just serving food and refilling drinks like she's a robot or something. She's always been checked out whenever there's any family drama, just pretends nothing is happening and keeps moving. Very "this is fine" dog in a burning house meme energy. So, we're eating dinner, making basic small talk, when my sister drops this absolute gem. "I've decided I'm getting a Tesla Model 3, she announced, all casual, while twirling pasta on her fork like she's in some TikTok mukbang. The white one with black interior. It's literally so aesthetic. Dad nearly choked on his water. I could see him low-key panicking. "That's quite a car, sweetheart," he stammered. "I know," she squealed, "but I deserve it." My fashion Insta is really taking off, and I need something that matches my vibe. Her fashion Insta had exactly 326 followers and 0 sponsorships, by the way. Main character syndrome much? Dad glanced at me with that look. The "I need you to bail me out again" look that I'd grown way too familiar with. Like telekinesis, I already knew what was coming after dinner. He pulled me aside in the kitchen. "She's got her heart set on this car," he whispered urgently. "I told her I'd help with the down payment, but you want me to pay for it," I finished for him, "and let her think it's from you again." He had the audacity to look ashamed. "At least just the down payment, that's all. About $7,500. She can handle the monthly payments herself." I straight up laughed in his face, not even trying to hide it. With what money? Her part-time boutique job? The Insta with 300 followers? Or wait, let me guess, you're also going to help with the monthly payments too, which means I'll be helping. He didn't even deny it, which was all the confirmation I needed. "No," I said firmly. "I've been paying her rent for 2 years. I'm done being the secret sponsor of her lifestyle." His face changed. The shame disappeared, replaced by that stern look I've known my whole life. "She's your sister. Family helps family." "Then you help her," I clapped back. "I'm not buying her a Tesla while she treats me like garbage and hangs out with my ex in the apartment I pay for." His eyes widened. "Keep your voice down. She'll hear you. Maybe she should hear me. Maybe she should know that her precious daddy hasn't been paying her rent." "I have." That's when he grabbed my arm, squeezing tight. "You promised. You gave me your word you wouldn't tell her." I pulled away from him. "That was before you asked me to buy her a Tesla, a $45,000 car. Are you serious right now?" We went back to the table. The tension was suffocating. Dad's face was all red, and I was seething. My sister, oblivious as always, was showing Mom pictures of her dream Tesla on her phone. "It's only $54,000, she was saying, "and Dad's helping with the down payment." Dad cleared his throat. "Actually, sweetheart, I was thinking maybe your brother could help you out with this." My sister looked at me, confused, then laughed, like actually laughed at the idea. "Him? He's too broke to even fix his janky Honda. He probably doesn't even have a savings account." And that's when I absolutely lost it. "I live in a broke apartment because I've been paying your rent for 2 years, I said, my voice deadly calm. The table went silent. Mom froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. "What?" my sister said, like she didn't hear me right. "Your rent. The money you think comes from Dad? It's from me every month for 2 years. I've transferred $780 to Dad, and he's pretended it's his." Her face went from confusion to disbelief to anger in about 3 seconds. But here's the thing. She wasn't angry at Dad for lying. She was angry at me. "That's not true. Dad wouldn't do that. Tell him it's not true." Dad couldn't even look at her. "Princess, I was going to pay him back." My sister's eyes filled with tears. "So you've been paying my rent this whole time? Why didn't you say anything?" "Because Dad begged me not to, because he wanted to save face. Because you'd be disappointed in him, but not me, since you already think I'm just a broke boy." "I never said that. You didn't have to. It's in every eye roll, every comment about my sad apartment. Every time you've looked down on me while living off my money." Mom just sat there, staring at her plate, not saying a word, not defending me, not calming Dad down, just checked out completely, like she always is when there's conflict. It's like she wasn't even in the room. "No," I said. "I'm done being quiet. I'm done being the family ATM, and I'm especially done watching my sister host my cheating ex in an apartment I pay for while they both simp over a Tesla I definitely won't be buying." My sister was getting redder by the second. "Your relationship with Sarah has nothing to do with my friendship. It has everything to do with respect, something you clearly know nothing about." Dad stood up, pointing at the door. "That's enough. You're being cruel to your sister." I laughed again. "I'm the one being cruel? By paying her rent for 2 years and finally telling the truth? You promised you wouldn't tell her. You gave me your word. And you promised you'd pay me back. Guess we're both liars." My sister was crying now, but they were angry tears, not sad ones. "I can't believe you've been holding this over my head all this time. I haven't held anything over your head because you didn't even know, you entitled princess. But now you do, and now I'm done. Find another sucker to fund your Tesla dreams." I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Dad followed me, his voice low and threatening. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back. Ever." I turned to him, oddly calm. "That's fine by me. By the way, I'll be stopping the rent payments. You've got 2 weeks to figure something out." And I left. Walked out of that house and straight into a storm I never saw coming. The next few weeks were absolute chaos. My phone blew up with texts and calls. Sis went from rage to begging in the span of like 3 days. Dad alternated between threats and guilt trips. Mom sent single texts like, "Please call your father," with zero context. I blocked them all after the first day I needed some freaking peace. But 3 days later, I got a weird call from my bank asking about unusual activity. Turns out, someone had tried to access my accounts. That's when I realized this family drama was about to level up in the worst possible way. The bank wouldn't tell me exactly who, but we all know who was playing detective with my money. So I immediately changed all my passwords, set up 2-factor authentication, and put alerts on everything. I wasn't taking any chances with these people anymore. I thought that would be the end of it, but then a whole new level of crazy dropped on me. I got home from work one day to find a tow truck outside my apartment building, about to hook up my car, the same 2010 Honda my sister loved to roast me about. I ran up to the driver like, "Yo, what the heck are you doing with my car?" He showed me some paperwork, all official looking, repossession order. "You behind on payments, bro?" "I can't be behind on payments," I told him. "This car is paid off. I've owned it outright for like 3 years. After a heated call with the bank, where I probably sounded unhinged to the poor customer service rep, I discovered something that made my blood straight up freeze. My father had taken out a title loan against my car a few months earlier for $7,200. "That's literally impossible," I told the rep. "I have the title." "He couldn't have done that." "Sir, we have the paperwork right here, signed by you." But I hadn't signed anything. When they emailed me the documents, I stared at them like I was watching some true crime show. There was my signature, but it wasn't mine. Dad must have copied it from somewhere and thought I'd never find out. My own father had used my car as collateral without my knowledge, had somehow gotten a copy of my title, and used it. This was a whole different level of messed up. Like, I was prepared for the guilt trips and the angry texts, but identity theft from my own dad? Not on my 2023 bingo card. I managed to stall the repo temporarily by proving I was the real owner, but I had three options: pay off a $7,200 loan I never took out, try to prove my dad forged my signature and potentially send him to jail, or lose my only transportation. I spent the next few days in a complete daze, toggling between feeling betrayed, violated, and straight-up rage. My own father had been planning this for months. He'd been plotting to use my car, my property that I worked for, as collateral for his own BS, while still having the audacity to ask me to sponsor his golden child's Tesla dreams. I ended up selling the car myself for way less than it was worth due to the time pressure, paid off the loan, and used what little was left to buy a real beater that probably wouldn't survive a harsh sneeze. It was a major downgrade, but at least it was 100% mine, with the title locked in a safe deposit box my father couldn't access. When he found out what I did, he called me, screaming like he was the one who'd been wronged. That car was our backup plan. How could you sell it without even talking to me first? The absolute audacity. It was my car, I shot back, and you took out a loan against it without even telling me. That's literally fraud. I was going to pay it back before you ever found out. It was just a temporary solution. With what money? The money you don't have to pay my sister's rent? Or the money you don't have for her Tesla down payment? He hung up on me, but the hits kept coming. A week later, I got home from work and immediately knew something was off. My door was slightly ajar. At first, I thought maybe I didn't close it properly that morning, even though I'm 100% sure I did. But then I walked in and realized someone had been in my apartment. My TV was gone, my laptop, the nice watch my grandfather left me when he died, even my freaking PlayStation. My hands were literally shaking as I called the cops. They came, took a report, looked around, but there was no forced entry. I knew exactly who had done it. Dad still had a spare key from when he helped me move in. I called him directly, beyond furious. "Did you take my stuff from my apartment?" After denying it at first, he finally admitted it. He said he was desperate, that debt collectors were calling, that he just needed to borrow some things to sell for cash and would totally get them back to me when things stabilized. Like, imagine your own father breaking into your apartment and stealing your possessions after already identity thefting you and draining your bank account for years. It's giving Lifetime movie energy, but it was my actual life. I was done playing nice. I told him I'd file charges unless he returned my stuff and paid back what he could. I even recorded the call where he admitted taking my things. My lawyer friend told me that would help if I needed to go to the police. "You wouldn't do that," he said. "Think about your mother, your sister, the family reputation. Always with the manipulation, always with the but family card." "I'm done being the only one who sacrifices," I replied. "Either make it right or face the consequences." He must have realized I wasn't bluffing, because 2 days later, most of my stuff mysteriously reappeared on my doorstep. Not the PlayStation, though. Found out later he'd already sold it. He also transferred some money to my account, not everything he owed me by a long shot, but enough to show he knew I was serious. But that was it for me. I went full nuclear. I changed my locks, changed my phone number, moved to a new apartment across town, got a new job at a different firm, completely wiped my social media, and started fresh accounts. Full ghost mode. Going no contact wasn't something I did on impulse. It came after weeks of being unable to sleep, questioning everything I thought I knew about family and loyalty. I'd been raised on the whole blood is thicker than water toxic positivity my entire life. My father had drilled that into me since day one, even while he was stealing from me and forging my signature. The mental gymnastics were exhausting. One part of my brain was like, "But they're your family," while the other part was screaming, "They're literally stealing from you." For real though, what kind of father steals his son's identity? What kind of father breaks into his kid's apartment and pawns their stuff? What kind of sister treats you like garbage while living off your money? The turning point came at like 3 a.m. one night when I couldn't sleep. I was staring at the ceiling, feeling like absolute trash, when I asked myself, would I let a friend treat me this way? A roommate? A coworker? Would I keep giving money to someone who talks down to me and hangs out with my ex? Hell no, not in a million years. So why was I giving a free pass to people who were supposed to love me more than anyone else? That clarity didn't make cutting them off easier, but it made it necessary. And that's how I found myself completely starting over at 26. New apartment, new job, new phone number, no family, all because I finally stopped being everyone's ATM and started putting myself first. 6 months into my new life of blessed silence on the family side, I got an email from my sister, and the contents had me shook. The subject line said, "I need you." Already giving me anxiety just seeing her name in my inbox. I opened it, half expecting more guilt trips and blame, but nope, it was actually worse. She's pregnant. Baby daddy, that influencer, ghosted her. She got evicted from the apartment because she couldn't afford it without my secret payments, and she's living with our parents again. "Family," she wrote. Family sticks together no matter what. I know we've had our differences, but I need your help now more than ever. Differences? She made fun of my car while I paid her rent. She hung out with my ex. Her dad stole from me and broke into my apartment, but sure, differences covers it. The email went on about how she's having a hard time, how she's changed, how she really needs her big brother right now. She even mentioned she'd been looking at smaller apartments, not expecting anything fancy, just somewhere she and the baby could be safe. Translation, she wants me to pay for a new apartment. What pissed me off was the last line, Dad says he's sorry too. We all miss you. I stared at that email for a solid hour, not even exaggerating, my finger hovering over the reply button like it was the nuclear launch codes. Part of me, the part that's been conditioned since birth to be the family fixer, wanted to rush in and save her, to prove I was a good brother, to be the hero. But another part, the part that's been in therapy for 3 months learning about boundaries and self-respect, recognized the familiar pattern, the crisis, the appeal to family loyalty, the expectation that I would drop everything because she needed me. I didn't respond right away. I just sat with the email open, processing my actual feelings instead of just reacting. There was genuine concern for her situation and the baby. No kid asks to be born into this mess. But there was also this bone-deep exhaustion, knowing this cycle would never end unless I ended it. The same old pattern, golden child gets in trouble, family expects me to fix it, nobody acknowledges the real problems, rinse and repeat until I'm broken bitter. I closed the email without responding, marked it as spam, and moved on with my life. Maybe it was a bit too much, but it was necessary for my own sanity. The first few months of no contact were low-key brutal. Holidays felt empty. Birthdays passed without celebration. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to text my sister about a movie she'd like, or call mom about a recipe. Then I'd remember they weren't part of my life anymore and why. The doubt would creep in during those quiet 3 a.m. moments when your brain loves to torture you. Was I being too harsh, overreacting? Should I try to fix things? Then I'd remember the theft, the lies, the years of being used, and I'd put the phone down. I tried to stay strong, created new traditions, made new friends who actually respected me. Slowly, the raw wound started to heal into something like peace. I got promoted at my new firm, started dating someone who doesn't treat me like crap, took a solo trip to Japan that I'd been putting off for years because I was always helping family. For the first time, I was living my life for me. Then, almost a year after that dinner when everything imploded, I saw my mother at the grocery store, just randomly in the produce section, both of us reaching for the same type of apples. We made eye contact, and for a second I thought about pretending I didn't see her, but something made me stay. She looked older, more tired. I felt a weird pang of something, more like echoes of what might have been in a different family. She approached carefully, like I might bolt. Maybe I would have once. You look well, she said, scanning my new clothes, my better haircut, all the visible signs that I was thriving without them. I nodded. I am well. She fidgeted with her purse strap. Your father had a health scare last month. His heart. My pulse quickened. Old programming dies hard. Is he okay? He'll recover, but it was serious. Made him think about some things. I waited for the guilt trip, the manipulation, the expectation that I would come running back, checkbook open. Surprisingly, it didn't come. Your sister asks about you sometimes, she said softly. Even after everything. I stared at the apples in my hand, suddenly super interested in their shiny skin. She still living with you? Yes. Mom's voice was flat, matter-of-fact, no emotion whatsoever. She got a job at the mall, still struggling with the baby. Your father helps with childcare. I felt nothing but a distant pity. Good for her. My mother looked like she wanted to say more but stopped herself. She didn't touch me or try to bridge the gap between us, just stood there awkwardly, clutching her purse. Well, I should go, she finally said. Take care of yourself. No, I miss you. No, I'm sorry. No real acknowledgement of anything, just the same emotional distance she'd maintained my entire life. You too, I said, and meant it enough. We didn't exchange numbers. Didn't make plans to reconnect. Some bridges, once burned, leave only ashes. But as I watched her walk away, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness exactly, I wasn't ready for that, maybe I never would be. But something like acceptance, recognition that my mother had always been emotionally absent, my father desperate to maintain appearances, and my sister shaped by their dysfunction. They were all just playing out patterns that started long before I was even born. My sister seemed desperate through all this. From what little I hear through mutual acquaintances, she still complains about her horrible apartment and how nobody helps her, still doesn't. To understand why her life is hard while others have it easy, still posts on social media about wanting a Tesla someday. Meanwhile, I just bought my first new car ever. Not a Tesla, but a reliable Toyota that doesn't make weird noises when it rains. Paid cash, no loans, no drama. The truth is, going no contact wasn't a single decision made in a moment of anger. It was thousands of tiny choices made every day for years. The choice not to call when I was lonely, not to reach out during holidays, not to respond to the occasional messages that found their way to me through mutual friends. Sometimes, I'd question if cutting them off completely was too harsh, if maybe keeping a careful distance would have been enough. But then I'd remember the betrayal of having my identity stolen, my apartment ransacked, and years of being valued only for what I could provide, not who I was. My dad always called my sister his golden child, but gold is soft, it bends under pressure. That pressure turned me into something stronger, like carbon into diamond, forged in the fire of his disappointment. But honestly, I didn't give a damn anymore. I was thriving, living a drama-free life without the constant anxiety of family obligations draining my bank account. But apparently the universe wasn't done with me yet. Last week I got a letter in the mail. Not an email, not a text, an actual paper letter. Who even does that anymore? My dad, apparently. The handwriting on the envelope was shaky, not the confident scrawl I remembered. Inside was a 3-page letter that basically changed everything and nothing at the same time. My dad wrote that his heart condition had gotten worse. The doctors were talking bypass surgery, and he'd been doing a lot of soul searching. His words, not mine. He apologized for using me as the family bank, for putting my sister first, for taking out the loan against my car, for breaking into my apartment. I was desperate, he wrote, but that's no excuse for what I did to you. You were the responsible one, the one who always had it together, and I took advantage of that. I thought you could handle it because you were stronger than all of us. The letter went on to explain that since I'd cut contact, a lot had changed. My sister had to get a full-time job at a department store. She had to move to a much smaller apartment. She had to apply for government assistance for her baby's health care. Dad had to sell his boat. I didn't even know he had a boat, by the way, and downsize a lot of things. Basically, when their personal bank, me, shut down, they actually had to live within their means for once. Imagine that. I always favored your sister, he admitted in the letter. I see that now. I thought I was protecting her, but I was actually making her weaker, and I was hurting you in the process. He didn't ask for money, didn't ask me to come back. Just said he wanted me to know he recognized what he'd done wrong, and that he was proud of me for standing up for myself, even if it was against him. The last page included copies of receipts showing he'd paid off some debts in my name that I didn't even know about. Apparently, there was more identity theft than I'd discovered. He'd cleared it all up and included proof. I sat with that letter for days, not sure how to feel. Part of me wanted to believe he'd changed. Part of me thought it was another manipulation tactic. But I just sent a short card, thanked him for clearing up the debts, wished him well with his surgery, told him I was doing great, didn't include my phone number or address. I thought that was the end of it, but then my sister showed up at my workplace one day. She looked nothing like the spoiled princess I remembered, just tired, wearing Target clothes, with a baby carrier holding a sleeping infant. She only asked for 5 minutes, so I took her to the coffee shop next door. She apologized right away, said she wasn't asking for money, just wanted me to meet my nephew and admit she'd been a brat. Turns out after I cut her off, she had to grow up fast, working retail, budgeting, living in a tiny apartment. I was always jealous of you, she admitted. You had your life together. I was just playing pretend. She even admitted Sarah was awful and shallow and laughed at herself for not seeing it sooner. Before leaving, she handed me an envelope about Dad's surgery saying he'd never asked me himself. She looked overwhelmed but real, not the entitled girl who used to mock my life. I didn't rush to fix things, didn't send money or call Dad. But I did text her later to say her baby was cute and I hoped they were doing okay. I'm not expecting a miracle here. People don't change overnight, and apologies don't mean much without real effort. But maybe, just maybe, we can build something new with boundaries and respect. Or maybe not. Either way, I'm happier living on my own terms, finally being the main character in my own life. I did eventually get a copy of my dad's medical records from my sister, with his permission, and verified he actually did need surgery. I sent a card to the hospital but didn't visit. He's recovering fine. My sister and I text occasionally now, mostly she sends pics of the baby. We're not close, but we're civil. I haven't given them any money, and they haven't asked. Maybe people can change after all, or maybe they just found another ATM. Either way, not my problem anymore.